and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you. Live from the Lions Den Golf Club studio, here are your hosts, Mark Freeman and Weldon Braxton.
You heard the intro. And we're not lying. The prodigal has returned. Weldon Braxton is back in the Cogswell Motors studio. Finally, the Weldon has come back. Corey Williams is sitting somewhere just going, yeah. Welcome back, Weldon. It's a good day. We can have Weldon Braxton back in the studio. He took a sabbatical to coach some football, and here we are, November the 13th, and you're back.
It's good to be back in the house, Mark. I was just sitting back saying, you know what? I got to get back on the show. I got back into town the other day and got everything sorted out. When you get back into town, you got so many things going on. You got to unpack. You got to see people and pretend like you're glad to see them, even though you're really not. So once I got all that sorted out, I had to get right back here on the Sports Blitz. So here I am.
Well, we're glad to have you back in here. Hey, Jason Kilburn, awesome job of warming the seat and doing the things that we needed done as far as just helping me avoid talking for an hour straight. And Jason's going to be on with us again. He's going to continue to call in. I hope he'll call today, but we like having his thoughts interjected here into the Sports Blitz. We very much appreciate what Jason Kilburn did to alleviate like I said, me just talking for an hour straight. I'm glad to have old Weldon back. Coached a little college football over the fall season. Now, your season up there in Minnesota was a little different than the college football season here, like University of Arkansas. It's a more compact schedule.
Yeah, well, a part of that is, there's still playoff games going on right now, but, we had a tough season. I think I was telling you before I went up there, we took over a program. We had 9 players on the whole roster in June, and then we recruited 40 players in about a month's time. And, I love our kids up there, but when you get 40 players in about a month's time,
you're just taking what you can get.
You do what you can do. But I tell you what, we've got a lot of momentum going into next year. We've landed some really good recruits, some kids I think will have a chance to play Division II, maybe even Division I football once they get themselves prepared academically and physically. So, we're off to a really good start at Itasca.
Man, I'm looking forward to seeing how well old Weldon's going to be I don't know if it's just Tech or if he'll move on up to U of A or NFL or wherever he goes, but it's going to be good to see where he goes later on. But we're glad to have him back right here, right now, to talk some sports. We didn't get to have a show on Monday. We had some internet issues in the area. Still don't know what was going on with the internet here. The next building over had internet, but we didn't. So we weren't able to actually have a show. So we've got a lot of stuff saved up for you to talk about today. We've got high school football playoff previews. There's big games this weekend, this Friday night, as several teams are hosting and several teams are on the road. I think there's 7 that I counted that are playing high school playoff games. Friday night, Arkansas Tech, men's and women's basketball, football as well. College basketball, big night of college basketball last night. One of the best nights of early season college basketball I've ever seen last night, as you had number 1 versus number 2 and number 4 versus number 5 at the same place, back to back. It's just an incredible atmosphere there in Chicago. We'll talk about those games. Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, Julius Randle, the 3 best players in college basketball, in my opinion, that I've seen so far for sure. On the same floor on the same night in those 2 games. So we'll talk about that. We'll give you our NFL power rankings. Hog Talk. Big news yesterday came across the wire, Weldon, that the University of Arkansas finally is getting a basketball practice facility, $25 million practice facility. They're going to break ground on December 7th at 11 o'clock, and it's going to be ready by 2015.
This is a huge deal. Facilities matter in recruiting. That's the first thing I think about. And, Mark, I know this debate has gone on for quite some time about, do you really need a practice facility? You have one of the nicer arenas in the country, even though Bud Walton's a little bit older. It's still one of the top ones. Why do we need this facility. And I'm telling you, this stuff matters to kids. They love to come in. We've talked about the Oregon facility for football and how ridiculous it is. Even Arkansas's football facility is nothing to sneeze at either. These things matter. If you want to win games, I don't care who your coach is, you need good players. If you want good players, you better have something to attract them. If you can't just sit back and say, well, the days of playing for the coach or playing for the good old school, that's enough. It's not. We live in a different generation. If you want the players that Arkansas needs to go back to the Final Fours, then this is a necessary step.
And there are a bunch of different things that I don't want to say Arkansas is behind or that Arkansas is, playing with the hand tied behind its back, but the fact that Mike Anderson runs a system that's going to require a lot out of you defensively and not give you a whole lot of offensive, there's not going to be one guy who's going to score 25 points a game. There's not going to be an Andrew Wiggins or a Jabari Parker who's going to take the bulk of the shots. In this system, you want to play defense, run, get layups, and you may have a guy who, is a three-point shooter, spot-up guy who hit 4 or 5 threes a game, for a great team, or you'll have a guy like Corliss Williamson who will, command the ball in the post or something like that. For the most part, though, they're going to be balanced scoring, so they've sort of got to sell everything that they can about the team and the team concept to get guys to come to Arkansas. So in that way, they're sort of quote-unquote behind. Of course, Kentucky's doing a pretty good job of recruiting guys, and they know there's only one basketball, so I don't think that should come into play as much, but this facility is going to help things in a big, big way. $25 million practice facility. And, we were talking about this before the show. The fact that Arkansas is announcing it at about the same time the 2014 class is going to sign, and it's going to be done in 2015 tells me that, they know what they're doing, because this 2014 class was already done. It was already not necessarily signed, but they're signing today. Anton Beard, Trey Thompson, and Nick Babb. But they know that they've got to recruit the 2015 class. It's very important to get on these guys' radar and get them to commit to the University of Arkansas if they know that there's a practice facility. There's no other negative recruiting that teams can use, saying all that, you don't want to go to Arkansas because although Bud Walton's pretty nice, you may have to practice at the Hyper because the girls' volleyball team's practicing or the girls' basketball team's practicing, or there's this or that going on. You're going to have the nicest, newest facility in the country.
And you can sell this right away, Mark. That's something that I was saying earlier is, the facility won't be ready for operations until 2015, but at the same time, you're going out and you're talking to these 2015 freshmen, and you're saying, hey, you're going to have a chance to play in this practice facility. Plus, Arkansas is not going after a ton of one-and-dones. Maybe they'll sniff at a few of them, but for the most part, we're talking about players that are going to be here 2, 3, and 4 years. They'll have ample time to be in that practice facility. So even though it won't be operational for a couple of years, you can start selling that thing to recruits right now.
Speaking of basketball, before we get to our Peters Family Living local sports look and football, need to make mention that the Pottsville Apaches and Lady Apaches got wins last night in their basketball season openers against Clinton. The Apaches won 48-21, and the Lady Apaches won 43-31. Big wins for the Apaches and Lady Apaches, especially for the men who are without at least 3 starters. Now, Michael Perry's still playing football. The 2 Duggar twins are still playing football. There's another kid, Kyle Reynolds, I think is his name, who's, I think, going to get a lot of run out there as well. So they've got a lot of guys on the football field that were not able to play basketball, and they still got a 27-point win last night. What I was impressed with, I've seen Travis Cole for 2 years now, and I've seen that he's improved a whole lot. 22 points for Travis Cole to go along with 5 steals. Nathan Walker, 10 points. What I was impressed with was the runs that they made. I always see Coach Shane Thurman teams make big runs in the third quarter. Right after halftime, he gets to make those adjustments. They come out and make big runs. But in the second quarter, they went on a 22-3 quote-unquote run. That was the second quarter. They outscored Clinton 22-3, and then in the third quarter, 12-2. So they just ran away right then. So I was impressed to see that. I'm looking forward to watching the Apaches play when they get to full strength. 4A state champs coming back to try to defend their title. They lost a whole lot from last year. You lost to Tyler Weaver, Corey McCown, all those bigs that they had that were able to make a difference come down to playoff time. They're going to have to figure out how to do it with a guard-laden team. And congratulations again to the Lady Apaches on their win as well. Jenna Goodwin, Coach Johnson said, was the defensive star of the game. She had 7 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 steals. So a big game for both the Apaches and Lady Apaches. Well, and I'm looking forward to some basketball.
When you look at the Apaches, Mark, coming in 4A defending state champions, obviously that's going to put a target on your back anyway. And then when you look at playing the early part of the season without some football guys, that's a really good sign. Now, I know the competition, people may argue that or whatnot, but at the same time, when you can win a varsity game without some of your players, some of your key players on a basketball team in which you lost guys anyway, that's really impressive. If I'm Pottsville, I'm excited and proud about building on that, knowing what I'm going to get back once football season's over.
Definitely. That's exactly how Coach Thurman responded. He was excited to get that win and get it out of the way. Just to get that opening game jitters out of the way was probably really good for them. Let's look at the high school football slate, though. This is playoff time for all these teams. 7 of them made the playoffs. Several of them, season ended last Friday. We understand that. And it's basketball season for a lot of these guys. Clarksville football season ended, so now it's basketball time, which, in Clarksville, it's always basketball time. We love our basketball over there in Pantherland. But their season ended. Let's see, who else season ended? Danville, Dover. Dover, congratulations on a winning streak to end the season. 28-17 win against Subiaco Academy. A big, big deal for the Dover Pirates to get that win. Two Rivers, their season is continuing. We'll talk about them here in a minute. Danville, their season is over. Russellville is going to host Benton. That's going to be our River Valley Leader featured game of the week. Ryan Smith will be on hand there at Cyclone Stadium as the Benton Panthers roll into town. I've asked about this game from some folks who know both teams. They expect it to be a good game. Cyclones get to host, and that may be the difference.
Yeah.
You never know.
I mean, it really could. And you look at Russellville, Mark, and I've been following a little bit more Arkansas high school football from afar, just from a recruiting standpoint. And I looked at Russellville, and I tuned into the Southside game, I think it was. And that was a wild game. Russellville had opportunities, couldn't get it in towards the goal line, had some miscues. With the Cyclones, it is what it is. Offensively, if they come to play, if they don't turn the ball over, if they can convert in the red zone, they're going to be in some ball games. Defensively, if they can just hold up. I feel like, Mark, this is a Cyclone team that if their defense gets a little bit of confidence, maybe gets a stop in the first 1 or 2 possessions, and then that offense cashes in because they're only going to go as far as the offense will take them, then they can make some noise against Benton and maybe beyond. But if not, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble.
You'll have to shoot it out with Benton, and I've seen a couple of the Benton scores, and they've shot it out several times so far this season. So we'll see how the Cyclones bounce back from a tough loss to Greenwood. Pottsville, they got a 45-0 win Friday night over Waldron. They're traveling to Newport. They're one of 2 teams in the 4A4 traveling. Dardanelle also traveling to Highland. Appears, that these 2 teams are lower ranked. I guess Pottsville is the 3rd seed, so they'll be playing the 2nd seed, I think. And then Dardanelle's the 4th seed, so they'll be playing the 2. I guess if that's how it works out. And
they play the 1.
They may even be. Well, I don't know. No,
there are 8 teams.
There's 5 teams that make the playoffs, and the 1 gets the bye.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess it would be 2 playing the 3, and the 1. I guess the 4 playing the. What? No. 2 playing the 4, 3 playing the 5. I guess is how it would be, wouldn't it?
Well, so we're taking out the number 1 team, and then we're playing the other teams remaining.
I think so. Let me look at the divisions, but I know that Pottsville and Dardanelle both on the road at Newport and at Highland, respectively.
Well, and now I'm just looking back at the 4A4, Mark. I mean, this year it was some league this year. I mean, Dardanelle the last couple of years they've had their program back on track. They're physical, very hard to deal with. Obviously, Montville's solid. Boonville's a perennial power, and of course Pottsville. Even though they've lost some people, they're still one of the better teams in that 4A4. Definitely one of the most competitive conferences in all of Arkansas, regardless of classification, is at 4A4. Just a lot of athletes and a lot of talent.
Yeah, Pottsville is the 3rd seed from the 4A4, and Newport is the 3rd seed from the 4A2. Dardanelle is the 4 seed from the 4, and they are taking on the 3rd seed from the 4A3. So Dardanelle gets a win. They get a chance to play Warren, who got a bye. If Pottsville can get the win, they get the chance to take on Arkadelphia in the second round, and Arkadelphia is incredible. So that's going to be it's going to be a tough test there for the Pottsville Apaches. But hey, if they're in there, might as well go ahead and win. And then looking at the rest of the schedule here, we've got Lamar hosting Barton. That's going to be a big 3A game. Been following them a little bit, and Lamar, going ahead to earn that 2nd seed right behind Charleston, and they played a barn burner with Charleston earlier on in the 3A season during the conference slate, but they've made their way to the playoffs against Barton. If they win that, they get Hoxie in the 2nd round. Atkins, the 4 seed from the 3A4, is playing the 3rd seed from the 3A1. That's West Fork, and the winner of that game gets Harding. So they've got a tough road there for the Atkins Red Devils. So either way, though, they're still in the playoffs. They've got a chance to make a run. Two Rivers playing Corning in the 1st round for a chance at Green Forest. And then in the 2A, we were asked to mention this yesterday by somebody who I don't know if they listen enough, because we talk about Hector as often as we can. Conference champions in that 2A conference. Wildcats, incredible season. I think they're 9-1 on the year. They're hosting Parker's Chapel. They've got a chance to make a run in the 2A state playoffs, starting a freshman quarterback. And the last time we heard of a team doing that, it was the Pottsville Apaches, and it turned out pretty well for them, as Michael Perry has had a really, really good career. Hector just doing an incredible job this season.
Hector, usually a football power, playing Parker's Chapel, right?
Yes, sir. They're hosting.
Might try to check that game out.
Nice.
I'm not saying why, but I might check that game out.
The winner of that game will get the winner of McCrory in England. So Hector looking to make a run there. I'm looking at this side of the bracket. The winners, the first seeds in that side are Magnet Cove, and they've got Ryzen in that side of the bracket, Carlisle, a couple of those teams. So Hector is in a better half of the bracket. I guess in the semifinals, if they were to make it that far, they would take it. They would take on Junction City. So it's either Junction City or Des Arc, and both of those teams in the 2A are both really good. So congratulations to Hector on winning the conference and what looks to be a run through the 2A state football playoffs. Looking forward to a good weekend in high school football. We need your help, though. We'll ask again on Friday, but we've got a scoreboard post that we'll post throughout the night on Friday night. We want to know your score so that we can keep everybody up to date. By the end of these 7 games, we want to know who wins every one of them. That would be ideal. So we've got plenty more on the Sports Blitz today. We're going to look at Andrew Wiggins, Jabari Parker, and Julius Randle right after the break.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KARK4 today.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Got a lot of basketball and football to talk today as the college basketball season started up, and last night was a huge night. We'll get to that here in a moment. The area right here in the Russellville area, the Arkansas River Valley, Arkansas Tech, the Wonder Boys and Golden Suns are the teams of note. The Arkansas Tech men, we talked to Coach Doug Carlson last week, and he was excited about what he saw from his team. They did have a 96-89 loss against Southwest Baptist, a team that he said was just going to throw up a bunch of threes. Apparently, they hit a bunch of them, scoring 96 points. But Arkansas Tech scored 89 points, especially on the road at a team's home gym early on in the season. It's he's mentioned it more than once. They didn't want to peak in November; they want to peak later on in March. So the fact that they're able to put up 89 points, and then in the next game they won 99-63. So their offense is clicking on all cylinders early on. Well, the Arkansas Tech men picked to win the GAC, and you can obviously see some flashes early on.
No, definitely something you would expect, Mark. I mean, ATU, how long has the basketball tradition been going now? The last handful of years. Seems like year after year they're competitive, and they're making a little bit of a footprint on the national scale. I've talked to some people up in Minnesota, and they remember, Arkansas Tech teams coming up there playing, I think it's at Mankato. And so Arkansas Tech, their basketball tradition is starting to spread a little bit. I'm excited to go out and watch this team. There's some new faces out there, but, high octane offense, up-tempo basketball is what you like to see.
Definitely. Arkansas Tech, 89 points. What in the world? It's got Arkansas Tech, Southwest Baptist, 89 points. In that loss, Tyler Friedel, 16 points. Clarence Willard, 15 from Willie Rogers, 13 from Derek Little, and 10 from Bobby Hatchett. So you've seen some offensive explosion. Let's look at the Arkansas Tech Lincoln scoreboard here just so that I can find out who did what. 18 from Derek Little, 11 apiece from Marshawn Arnold, and Clarence Willard, 10 from Tyler Friedel. So you've got 4 or 5 guys in double figures. Offensive balanced team. So looking at Arkansas Tech as a team to be reckoned with again in the Great American Conference. They've won 4 straight conference championships. You wouldn't expect anything less. And then while we're thinking about it, Arkansas Tech football beat Southeast Oklahoma 37-34 in overtime on Saturday. It was a great win for the Wonder Boys. Now they take on Harding, 2 o'clock on Saturday at Doane Stadium, Burkle Field. So get out there and watch the Wonder Boys and check out the Golden Suns and Wonder Boys basketball teams as well because it's basketball season. And as we mentioned earlier on, a big night in college basketball last night in Chicago. The Champions Classic saw number 1 Kentucky and number 2 Michigan State take the court first. Michigan State and all that veteran-laden team, lots of experience, got the win over Kentucky. Julius Randle looked incredible. And then in the nightcap, you had Kansas, number 5 in the country, taking on number 4 Duke. Not Julius Randle. It was Jabari Parker for Duke and Andrew Wiggins for Kansas. Lots of talk about these guys, and they didn't disappoint last night.
Not at all, Mark. And if you go back to that first game, the Kentucky-Michigan State game, I really wasn't surprised at all from what I saw because you mentioned the veteran and all the experience on the Michigan State side. Of course, in a big game, national stage early in the year, Michigan State's probably more likely to come out more relaxed, playing better basketball, and that's what you saw. They got out to a double-digit lead, but then once Kentucky got comfortable, once they started playing a little bit better, that talent got them right back in the game. Much different second half when Michigan State was able to hold on. Mark, this is the Kentucky team I expect to see going forward. the youth, the jitters, the young mistakes that they made, they got those out of their system. And I think you're going to see a team that's a Final Four contender. But looking at Michigan State, it's all Keith Appling is the key to me, because if he can run this team, and there's been questions about him over the last couple of years, is he a point guard? Can he run the team? He played well last night, and as long as he does that, I think they can win the Big Ten. I think they can go to a Final Four.
Yeah, looking at those 4 teams that played last night, I wouldn't be surprised at all if those were your Final Four teams.
Yeah.
But you do have Louisville, who's the defending champ. They've got Russ Smith back, got Kevin Ware back. That was an incredible story in and of itself. The guy who broke his leg off in the tournament last year, back already for Louisville. They've got Shane Bohannon, who was actually booted from the team, but he's back. And then I'm trying to think of Luke Hancock. I was going to say the white kid.
MVP.
But yeah, he's the MVP, and I call him the white kid.
The white kid.
They're going to make some noise. I wouldn't be surprised if they replaced a team like Duke. I saw some holes in Duke we'll talk about here in just a minute. But looking, Keith Appling, like you said, 22 points, 20 for Gary Harris. Michigan State, I said Michigan State or Duke would be the 2 teams that I would favor to win the national championship. I would drop Duke off that from what I saw last night, because I don't think they're going to be able to get a rebound. And if they played a Michigan State again, or if they played a Kentucky or a Michigan State, I don't know that they'd ever get a rebound, because I think Julius Randle and those Michigan State bigs would both, if they played either one of those teams, just dominate them. Randle, 27 points and 13 rebounds. He did have 8 turnovers, and that was the factor that caused that, I think, was the Tom Izzo defensive strategy, and he's an incredible defensive strategist. He put guys in position to make plays, and that's really the only reason they won this game. They won the first half by 12 points, lost the second half by 8, and they just held on for dear life as Kentucky came back. I think Kentucky obviously more talented than Michigan State, but they're not quite as gritty yet.
Oh, no, definitely. And you look at Kentucky, when they figured out, hey, we have to be aggressive and we have to make a point to get shots in the paint, that's when they came alive. Because if you're Tom Izzo and you see that athletic Kentucky team, you're just sitting back saying, you know what, fellas, let's pack the paint. Let's be really sensitive with our help defense and make them make jump shots. I mean, isn't that what you would do against a Kentucky team?
Yep.
And that's exactly what they did. Well, what Kentucky started to do, they posted up Randle on the right block so he could come back left. He had tremendous success. The kid's got an array of moves, too. He's going to be really good. But, again, it's a learning experience for Kentucky. And looking at the Duke game, Mark, I want to jump over there. Kansas destroyed them on the boards, as you mentioned, and that's really been an issue for Duke the last couple of years. You remember Michigan State and Duke played in the NCAA tournament last year, and that was one problem. Yeah, Duke could shoot the 3, but Michigan State on the glass really caused problems, and that was the difference in that matchup.
Yeah, Duke didn't have anybody who can get a rebound. I mean, Jabari Parker is incredible. 27 points, 9 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block for the talented freshman forward. Went home last night to Chicago and put on a show, but when it came down to it, the bigs for Kansas, Tariq Black, Perry Ellis, there was another one whose name I probably can't even pronounce. Whenever I find it, I'll let you know. Joel Embiid, I think is how they said it, or Embed, I don't know how you pronounce it, but he was a beast on the boards. He had 7 rebounds, 9 for Perry Ellis, 8 for Andrew Wiggins, 6 for Wayne Selden. They just dominated the boards against Duke. But Andrew Wiggins, 22 points, 8 rebounds. I was impressed with what I saw from him, but not quite as impressed as what I saw from Jabari Parker. I wanted to look at comparisons. Now, these are just comparisons for comparison's sake. But another thing that I want to look at is NBA readiness and who you would take. Understand that this is all in a vacuum. This isn't based on anything other than how good we think they are now, because it's all going to come down to who has those picks. If you're the ones I mentioned before, if you're the Philadelphia 76ers this year and you end up just being terrible, knowing you've got Nerlens Noel coming back next year, knowing that you're going to have a big, you're going to need a guard or you're going to need a forward, and you're going to take either Parker or Wiggins. You may, if you're the Sacramento Kings and you're just terrible, you may need a guard or a forward because you've got DeMarcus Cousins, but you may need a Julius Randle on the inside if you're one of these other teams. So, I don't know who's going to be taken where, but I think that these 3 were incredibly good. Jabari Parker, to me, looked the most polished.
I agree with you. I think Jabari Parker, clearly the more polished one. You look at his floor game. You just look at how he manages situations. He understands angles. He understands spacing. He looks more like a veteran. I think when you look athletically and at upside, that's where you come in with the other two, Julius Randle and Andrew Wiggins. Randle's a guy right now who is a man among boys in that paint area right now. Forget about for a freshman. I'm talking about just period. I mean, he's dealing with Adrian Payne, who a lot of people have as a first or second team All-American, and he's just treating him like an old rag doll. Julius Randle, for me, is somebody who I can see developing a little mid-range jump shot to go with his ability to bang and really being an effective NBA player. Andrew Wiggins, the same thing. He's a little bit raw. He's done a few freshman mistakes here and there, but I still think from an athletic upside standpoint, he's going to be as good as anyone. So if you want to invest in upside, and I think a lot of teams do, a lot of them are out of a job because those investments didn't work out, but a lot of them do, and they'll probably go ahead and take an Andrew Wiggins. But if you like somebody who's still really good and has a lot of upside but still a little more polished, then I think you would go with a Jabari Parker. But they're all really, really talented.
Honestly, any team that picked one of those three guys first, you wouldn't hear any complaint from me. I think that Jabari Parker, I'll give you some comparisons here. I couldn't find one for Andrew Wiggins. The only one that I could really think of is sort of a Paul George guy, but Paul George is more of a defensive stopper, and he's built on like that base, and now his offensive game has come around, and he's very, very good. He understands the game. He was more of a tough guy, though. Andrew Wiggins, I did appreciate his understanding of the game and finding spaces, and he'd flash in the lane and get a layup here and there, and he made a couple nice plays. He seemed like he disappeared for long stretches of the game, but the other two were the ones that I found, and I didn't necessarily find these myself, better because I heard people making these comparisons. Randle looks to me, and I saw him in a Kentucky uniform, and the first name that came to mind was DeMarcus Cousins because he plays sort of under the rim, but he makes just bulldog moves, gets rebounds, makes easy baskets. But the one that Jason Kilburn pointed out to me that I thought was better was Zach Randolph.
Right.
Now, left-handed, he was able to get those nasty, tough baskets. He got plenty of rebounds. He was very good. I think he'll show his spot-up game eventually. And then for Jabari Parker, the best comparison that I heard all night, and I think it was Jay Billis who made it, was Grant Hill. He made a catch on an alley-oop, a one-handed dunk, and I immediately went back to watching Grant Hill do that in college for Duke. Jabari Parker, to me, Grant Hill, that type of upside, Grant Hill was incredible. He was on pace to be a Hall of Famer early on in his career. He was one of the best players in the league. So I like what I saw from Jabari Parker and having that Grant Hill comparison. I don't know if you've got other people that you compare him to, but
I like those comparisons. I like what Jason said with an athletic version of Zach Randolph. I can definitely see that. The reason I like Jabari Parker, and I don't want to say it's a whole Duke thing, but I can see why he was attracted to Duke and Duke was attracted to him. He's not only talented, because there are dozens of talented players that come through every year. Parker's got this sort of intellect thing going on. He's got this whole, I understand the game, I'm smooth, I know how to be aggressive, I know how to be assertive when I need to be, I'm an all-around player. And not saying Wiggins doesn't, but Wiggins shows a little bit of youth. You talk about him disappearing, and that's been a knock on him going back to times where he's played in big-time AAU and international events. Clearly, he's the most talented player, but sometimes he treats himself like he's one of everybody else. When the reality is, no, Andrew Wiggins, you're the best player out here. Let's roll. Let's put this team on your back, or let's be aggressive. And sometimes his aggressiveness is what's in question, whereas Parker knows who he is. He's got confidence in who he is, and that translates onto the floor.
Yeah, I like all three of these guys, and I'm sure there are going to be some other folks through the season that jump out to us.
Bobby Portis.
I think he'll be a good one. I don't know that he's on the same level as these guys, and maybe he will be in a couple years. Maybe 3-4 years from now, he'll have won Arkansas a national championship in that brand new practice facility. They'll be able to work that kinks out and all that. We've got plenty of more sports blitz today. We're going to look a little bit at the NBA. We hadn't talked to Old Weldon about the Miami Heat and the problems that they've had. LeBron cursing in his press conferences and things like that because he doesn't like the defensive effort. Put out a little better one last night. And then we'll look at our NFL power rankings before we move on to Hog Talk. Plenty more on the Sports Blitz.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Welcome back to the Sports Blitz on a Wednesday. It's our Monday show. We didn't get to have a show Monday. We got packed full of stuff. Don't adjust your computer set. Weldon Braxton is in the house. Glad to have him along. Also glad to have Mr. Jason Kilburn on the phone line. It's a packed house, just like we like it. Jason, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, how y'all doing today? Just listening to y'all talk. It's always good to have Weldon back, and good show so far. I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Well, we were talking about college basketball and the three big names that took the floor last night. It's funny, we talk about the Kentucky guys, and they lost. We talk about Kansas and Duke, and I think the three of us, as we just talked a little off the air, like Jabari Parker, and his team lost. So Andrew Wiggins from Kansas, very good. All those guys from Kentucky are going to be good. Jabari Parker, going to be good. But, Jason, your thoughts on last night and those three talented freshmen that really kind of came to the forefront?
Man, they're all three very talented. You know, I mean, they all have the potential just oozing out of them, that say NBA All-Star all over them. I mean, all of them is just athletic. They can all jump. They can shoot. They're all just great players. But, and I was, when we were texting last night, I was thinking of Randall. He reminds me of Zach Randolph. Well, then I started thinking about the other two. Who do they remind me of? Now, Andrew Wiggins, I know he's a little bit taller, but I think Andrew Wiggins kind of reminds me of Clyde Drexler.
I thought that same thing when I was just looking through the list a minute ago, but I couldn't bring myself to say it.
And Jabari Parker, I'm going to say Scottie Pippen, kind of. I mean, he just seems like if Pippen would score more, I think, Parker's probably going to, be more of a scorer than Pippen, but Pippen seemed like he just had a very high basketball IQ, and I think that's what Parker has. I think Parker can, get his teammates involved. You saw him, he's 6'8", like I think 230 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was, you know, dribbling up and down the court. He was blocking shots. He was stealing. And I mean, I just thought, man, that reminds me of Scottie Pippen to me. I mean, this is the first two that came to my mind when I thought of Parker and Wiggins.
Jason, I just want to get your take on something. I want to look at it from the other end of it because we're saying all these glowing things, and you know, I'm not trying to put a wet blanket on it, but I just want to get your take. Of those three guys, who do you think has the biggest chance of being a bust?
Man,
to me, that's a very good question. Yeah,
that is.
Well, I would say that Wiggins probably has the biggest chance of being a bust because the hype's bigger for him,
right?
For one, and for two, he's going to rely on his athleticism and things like that. And when he gets to the league, there are going to be guys that are as athletic as him. Looks like Jabari Parker is more of a well-rounded right now type guy. He can play offense and defense. So if his offense isn't there, the defense may be there. And Julius Randle looks like he's just going to bruise people. So he's just going to rely on effort as much as his talent. So I think Wiggins is probably the answer that I would go with right now. Jason?
That's probably a pretty good. I'll probably go with Wiggins too. And the reason I say that is because everybody's already comparing him to he's going to be the next LeBron James. He's going to be the next big time superstar. What if he only averages say 14 points a game and doesn't average 18 to 20 or whatnot? I mean, is his expectations going to be lower just because he doesn't have a great year or something? But I mean, everybody just has so many expectations for him that it's going to be hard for him to live up to the hype. But man, I think all three are going to excel, and it's going to be hard for me to really pick one that say I think he's going to be the bust of the group. But another kid that nobody's talking about is the I just went blank. He's the kid that went to Arizona.
Yeah, Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, that sucker can ball too, man. He's good too. I think all four of them have, I mean, I'm looking way down the road, but I think they all have the potential to be, big time players in the NBA, big time all-stars in the NBA, and probably all four of them have a very good chance of being Hall of Fame players.
Man, that's early on, but it's good. That's good thought. Jay Billis had a quote that I wanted to steal, but I don't have it in front of me. He's talked about how Jabari Parker was the most polished, NBA ready. Julius Randle was probably the most physically talented right now as far as just what he can do as a man, and then Andrew Wiggins had the most upside. So, we'll look forward to watching college basketball this year as the Hogs are going to tip off tomorrow night against Louisiana Lafayette. We'll talk Hogs here in just a moment, but we would be remiss if we didn't hit some football before we get back to Hog Talk. We've got to give our NFL power rankings. Since Jason's on, we're going to put him on the spot. I wonder if he's got his Tampa Bay Buccaneers atop his list now that they've got a win.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that here in just a minute. But while we're talking college football, or we're talking college sports, we might as well mention some college football. It's kind of a week in college football. Auburn, Georgia, Oklahoma State, and Texas and Florida, South Carolina are the games of the week. This is one of those honeydew weekends. I've got a wedding to be in this weekend. If you've got some honeydews that you need to take care of, this is probably the weekend to do it. Hogs are off. Not very many great games going on in the college football scene.
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot going on. You look at some of the races within the conferences, I think that may give it a little more intrigue. Obviously, you've got the race in the SEC East, Missouri trying to hold off South Carolina. That'll be a good one to see. The Auburn and Georgia. I don't think a lot of people trust Auburn just yet. I think we like what Gus Malzahn's done. Obviously, he's done a tremendous job, but I think people are still saying, okay, when it's time to really face big-time competition, where are you going to be? So we'll get to find out a little bit more about that. I know Georgia defensively, they're not what they were last year. Offensively, they have some injuries, but it'll be a test as we look forward to Auburn playing in the Iron Bowl. And, of course, the Big 12, yes, it's weak as water, but still, watch Texas and Oklahoma State to see some things shake out in that conference will be interesting, too.
Jason, you got anything to add on the college football week?
No, man. There's not much to it this week.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am. All right, let's look at our NFL power rankings. I'll go first so you guys can have some time to formulate your thoughts. I know old Weldon's probably got his, and Jason's mentioned his before. I think we're probably going to be sort of the same as far as some of these teams. There are some teams that have been left out, and I've kind of chronicled in my past power rankings why I've left some of these teams out. But right now, it's a what have you done for me lately type power rankings. Not that we think these are the best 5 teams, but it's sort of who's hot right now. Kansas City, undefeated. They're taking on Denver this week. Peyton Manning, despite his injury, is going to play. I feel like this is going to flip-flop next week, but I've got Kansas City number 1, Denver number 2. Next week, I expect that Denver's going to win, but if Kansas City can continue their hot streak, who knows? Next week they'll be number 1 as well. Number 3, got the Seattle Seahawks, won 5 games in a row. If they play at home, they're pretty much going to win. That's just all there is to it. And they could have, if they were able to continue this streak, home field throughout the playoffs. That would be a big deal for the Seattle Seahawks. Number 4, New Orleans. They laid it to my Cowboys on Sunday, just absolutely annihilated them. So they moved up to number 4 on my list. Number 5, I've got the New England Patriots. I don't like the Patriots. Yeah, there's some teams that could be there over the Patriots, but they got Gronk back. They've got Tom Brady starting to, I don't want to say he's starting to hit on all cylinders, but he's playing a little better. They had a great week. I guess it was the week before last. They put up just 1,000,000 yards, something like 600 total yards in an NFL game. Is ridiculous. But I've got New England number 5 on my list. Well,
you and I are very close. We have one team different, and they're from the same division. We just interchange them. I'm going to look at the teams that I didn't put in first, and I'm going to give my reasons really quick. I looked at the Indianapolis Colts, 49ers, and Saints. I couldn't go with the Colts because when you lose by 30 points at home to the Rams, and I never trusted the Colts anyway. I think, Luck's nice, but sometimes he gets erratic. That defense, they're kind of up and down. Couldn't go with the Colts. My team, my San Francisco 49ers, offensively, they haven't been anywhere to be found. Greg Roman, I'm looking at you. I can brag on you. I can also talk about you. Kaepernick struggled as well. And then New Orleans, they blew out Dallas at home, but they went up to the Jets and lost, but they're just on the brink. So my team's number 5, New England. You're right, Tom Brady getting his weapons back, getting everything in order. They're going to win that division. Number 4, I got a team who's playing nasty defense right now. We like to talk about their quarterback, but the Carolina Panthers defensively, they're not just a good defense. They were a good defense in weeks 3 and 4. They are now a flat-out nasty defense. Cam making just enough plays. I got the Panthers at number 4. Number 3, Seattle. The running game, their defense is getting back on track. I didn't like how their defense was playing going into the Atlanta game, but they beat up on the Falcons just like everybody else is nowadays for some reason. But I got Seattle at number 3. Denver, number 2. They got Peyton Manning. He's still Peyton Manning. I don't care about his ankle. He's not running anywhere anyway.
Yeah.
So Peyton's going to be fine. Those weapons, they're number 2. And out of respect, Mark, I believe as you did, because they're undefeated, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. That defense is for real. I wonder what happens when people start making Alex Smith throw the ball down the field, what's going to happen. But they're number 1 for right now.
We've talked about this before. I think we might have lost Jason because of the bad phone service he said he's got, but we'll see how that. Jason, are you there? Yeah, I think we lost him. He just texted me and told me he had bad phone service. His phone dropped the call, so maybe he'll call back and tell us. But we've talked about this a little bit, and Weldon, you and I talked about this in the pre-show. Peyton Manning, his offense, and I call it his offense because for all intents and purposes, he's the offensive coordinator on the field. His receivers sometimes can get manhandled at the line of scrimmage, and if you mess up his timing with those receivers, sometimes it throws off the offense. So that worries me. I feel like I said before the season started that I didn't know that I trusted Denver. One of the reasons is that you've seen it already. Teams are sort of starting to manhandle those receivers and press them at the line and bump them and get them off their routes and even take penalties every once in a while just because, just to let them know, get it in your head. You're not going to go where you want to go. And that messes with Peyton Manning and that when that timing and rhythm's off. So I'm starting to see that, and it's sort of worrisome to me. I want the Broncos to win the Super Bowl because I know the Cowboys aren't going to.
Are you sure? They look so good against New Orleans.
Yeah, they looked awesome.
I mean, I think you're right about Denver, Mark, and I've said it many times. I go back over the years of Peyton Manning's career, and I know a lot of people want to point at his lack of success in the playoffs, especially compared to what he's done the regular season, multiple MVPs, division titles, and whatnot. But I don't think it has anything to do with him being nervous or him being fearful or not living up in the big moments. I think it comes down to people being physical, secondaries being physical with his receiving unit. You go back at what Belichick's New England teams used to do to him. You look at what San Diego has done to him over the years. You look at what the Jets have done, the Steelers. Last year, the Baltimore Ravens in Peyton's first year in Denver. When you manhandle Peyton Manning's receivers, you throw off the timing, and you put pressure on a running game that's never been a downhill physical running game, you start running into problems, and that's what I see for Denver. I still think they're going to win a ton of games, 13, maybe 14, get the number 1 seed just like they normally do, but then what happens? That's the question.
Yeah, it's going to be, man, I'm not looking forward to the day the Denver Broncos lose. I'll be so mad because I'll know that Peyton Manning is freaking Peyton Manning. You know, he's incredible. And if they do lose, it'll be that reason right there. The defense can't stop anybody, and the receivers sort of get manhandled. So we're just telling you ahead of time if you want to just go ahead and get yourself ready for it. I hope the Kansas City Chiefs don't do it. I did say for the last month and a half that Kansas City's about to catch 2 losses here to Denver, but the more I watch, the more I see that it seems like there's a book of Manning.
That is the book, but the one thing is, these coaches, they're smart, some of them, and they know that that's the book, but they can't all execute it. That's the good news if you're Denver. A lot of people, I'm sure Jacksonville would love to be physical with the Broncos. They just can't do it. But a team like Kansas City, they are capable of it. I do think they'll probably split their matchups this year, but the thing with Kansas City, Mark, if Peyton can put up 20 quick points on the board, then Kansas City may be in a little bit of trouble.
Want to get your thoughts real quickly while we're just going to go hodgepodge of stuff here. We're looking at the NFL. Dolphins fiasco. Do you have a side that you lean to on this?
Normally, locker rooms clean themselves up. You don't usually see this, but now that you have, it is a problem, and it does have to be addressed. Really disappointing the leadership structure within the players because these things usually clean themselves up.
I'm Jeff Ireland. If he's fired tomorrow, it's a day too late.
I agree.
Not my biggest. I'm not his biggest fan.
Des Bryant either.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one of the 2 reasons. Yeah. Punch him in the face if you don't want him to bother you. You're the general manager. Hey, is your mom a prostitute, Des Bryant? He's an idiot. There are a lot of people. I was listening yesterday to Scott Van Pelt, and he said that a lot of people in the league are still they're sort of amazed that he still has a job, and that's from years and years because he's just not very good. Anyway, Miami Heat, did you have any thoughts on them that you wanted to hit real quick? Because we're going hog talk right after this.
We're going really fast. I just want to say, look, the Indiana Pacers are undefeated right now. Are they a legitimate threat in the Eastern Conference? I think so, but don't look at this Miami team and flush them away. They're coasting, 2-time champions. Let them coast here in November.
Yeah, they got a big win last night. LeBron goes crazy on the team in a press conference. I say that relatively speaking. He talked about how bad they had done. But they stepped it up a little bit last night. Like I said, they're going to be 2-month periods in the middle of the season where they just, who cares? But I don't know that they're going to lose the rest of this month. So we'll see.
And even if, real quick, even if they don't get the 1 seed, because I think Indiana's really pushing for that 1 seed, I still think
they don't care where they play.
Yeah.
They don't care if they play on Mars. Yeah. They've been there. They've 3 straight playoffs, trips to the NBA Finals. They don't care where they play. We've got Hog Talk right after the break.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
Over 69 years of treating you like family, Peters Family Living's main goal is customer service. That is their promise to their customers. They offer in-house financing on furniture and appliances and a 30-day money-back guarantee. For a friendly, no-pressure atmosphere, visit Peters Family Living today at 201 North Arkansas Avenue, Russellville. Online at petersfamilyliving.com or call 479-968-2929.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Talking a little fantasy basketball in the break. I got Kobe Bryant on my bench. He's on the IR for about 3 more weeks. I hope it won't be that quick. We'll see if Kobe Bryant can come back.
Now, Mark, you do know, I don't know in your fantasy league, but mine, they do keep field goal percentage too. So
No, they don't do that.
Oh, they don't? Oh, so you're in good shape.
He can
then.
shoot it all day, and he will too when he comes back. He'll be letting it fly. Speaking of basketball, it's time for some Hog Talk. We mentioned the practice facility that the Arkansas basketball program's getting. It's a godsend, a $25 million godsend for the Hogs basketball program. And that's sort of probably why it took so long. They needed the baseball facility. They needed the things that they did. And then in the order that Jeff Long saw fit, he puts the Arkansas basketball practice facility ahead of the football upgrades that he wants to do after the Fred Smith Center, but before the upgrades to the north end zone and the things that they want to do there. $25 million practice facility. Ground will be broken on December 7th. We mentioned that because early signing day for the basketball Hogs is upon us, and we've got Trey Thompson, who signed a 6'9", 250 center forward out of Forest City. Guard Nick Babb, 6'4", 180 from Arlington, Texas. He's going to sign at about 130 today. And then Anton Beard will sign tomorrow as a North Little Rock point guard. Sounds a lot like the Little Rock Parkview point guard, but he transferred to North Little Rock, as did everyone else. 6'1", 180 point guard, going to sign with the Hogs. So this signing class will be the last one without a practice facility when they get on campus.
Yeah, the last one. And now if you're Mike Anderson, as I said at the top of the show, you can now go out and you can start selling the fact that, hey, Arkansas is we are getting a practice facility. And not only are we getting one, we are putting up a monster, $25 million worth. Because I hear all the time, well, everybody else in the SEC has one. Well, they may have one, but some people may have a barn up with a basketball hoop calling it a practice facility. Not this one right here. This one's going to be the real deal. $25 million. Whew. It's going to be the real deal.
It's going to be nice. I hope that that the Hogs can play worthy of it. We'll see. They got a big win on Friday night against SIU Edwardsville, 99-65, putting up some points. I'm looking forward to seeing who can put up. Yeah, looking forward to seeing if the Hogs can continue to put up points in the basketball slate. They take on ULL on Friday. We haven't even really mentioned the Hog football program with good reason. They did get a 34-24 loss. To Ole Miss. We expected it to be even worse. I had a semi-close prediction. I think I had it 34-23 So, I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be too terrible.
You know it's bad when you have to come in here in the studio, sit up here and say, well, Arkansas got a 34-24
They
loss.
only lost.
Yeah, it is some troubling times. And, Mark, I hadn't been here since the season began, and it's been a rough one. I got to say, it's been even worse than I expected. I mean, you're going to lose to Alabama. You figured you'd lose to South Carolina, but you didn't think it'd be 104-7. You definitely didn't think it'd be like that. But I think better days are ahead for the Hog football team. I just wanted to put that out there since I hadn't weighed in since I've been back.
Yeah, the 34-24 loss, I expected it to be worse. So the fact is they've got another week to prepare for Mississippi State, and since it's a bye week, we'll talk a little bit about them on Friday and sort of what we hope that they can accomplish. We talked about it before on the previous bye week, what we hope to accomplish during a bye week, but we'll talk a little bit more about them later on. But the Hog basketball team is sort of coming to the forefront. As we watched the SEC yesterday, well, I didn't see a whole lot to be just scared of. Now, Kentucky is a different animal. Florida going to be pretty good, but they've had some close games early on this season. I think Arkansas can jump up into the mix in the SEC, but it's all remains to be seen because it just depends on who can put the ball in the basket.
And that's really what it comes down to, Mark. Looking at the SEC really quick, yesterday they had some games. LSU going down a high-scoring game to UMass. Florida against Wisconsin. Although Florida was missing some people in a game away from home, so that has to be factored in. And obviously Kentucky. But when you look at this Arkansas team, you're right. It is about putting the ball in the bucket. I think they are improved in the half court offensively, but at the same time, I don't care how many beautiful sets you run. I don't care how much you preach team basketball. There will always be points here and there during the game where there's no magic set, there's no magic play that gets you a shot off good action. You just have to have somebody that can say, here I am, put the ball in my hands, let me get us a tough basket. And does Arkansas have that guy? Does Arkansas have enough perimeter shooting to space the floor and keep guys from packing the paint? I think that'll be the big key. Can Arkansas score in the half court? Because even the best pressing teams in the nation, at some point, they have to slow down. They have to play at a half court pace, maybe not for the whole game, but at least execute and score in the half court. And does Arkansas have the tools to be able to do that? I think it's the difference between an NCAA tournament team and an NIT team.
Can Kai Madden sort of man the point and be the guy? I don't know. Can Antoine Bell consistently knock down shots? If he can, you've got some pieces. Like you said, you've got pieces at different places. I like Bobby Portis. I like Michael Qualls dunking on everybody. If you haven't seen that video, you're doing yourself a disservice. You need to go check that out because he went ham on somebody. He went Xavier Henry on that kid. He just went and turned sideways and just let him have it. So looking forward to seeing him in the Sports Center Top 10 highlights again throughout the season. They've got some pieces. I'm hoping the Hog basketball team will, if nothing else, be entertainment and be entertaining. I want to get out and watch them play a couple times. We have run out of time for today. This is what we do. We just talk for an hour straight, and here we are. Just run out of time. Plenty more stuff we could talk about, but we've got Friday's show, and we'll.
Are you gonna be here Friday?
I'm not going to be in the house on Friday, but we're going to figure out a way to get something done. If you can come in, I may just call.
I'll be
on
here
Friday, so we'll try our best to have the Sports Blitz as usual. But I got a wedding to be in on Friday, on Saturday, so got some things to take care of on Friday. But we'll be making sure we get our Sports Blitz fix in. I say that 3 times
that was
fast.
Nice. Yeah.
Glad to have old Weldon back in the studio. Thank you guys for joining us today. For Weldon and Maddie, I'm Mark, and Jason as well. I'm Mark saying so long. We'll see you at 11 o'clock on Friday with more Sports Blitz.